on, I'm about to switch to this laptop.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, we already went live.
Oh, shit. What the
hell? Well, STK surviving the Knicks.
New York forever, baby.
What up, y'all?
And surviving Coach B's laptop. Transition to laptop. Oh my God. Yeah. Sorry, we live. Listen, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of STK Surviving the Knicks.
Yes.
Okay, I have tonight, we got my man Ed Dollars. What's going on, Ed? What's going on?
What's up? Just heck, Coach B. Excited to be on again. You know, it was a great season. I'm dying to talk about the entire season. You know, expectations were low. Then they were high. Low again. But all in all, happy to be a Knicks fan.
We did good. And Coach B.
We survived it.
Right.
Coach B, what's going on?
Man. I was underwhelmed to start the year, extremely underwhelmed, you know, and they exceeded all expectations. So the playoffs, you know, I could have won a little better, but you know, we'll dive into that, and happy to be back.
Definitely. And on the way is Wall Street Heck. He's taking care of some personal business, but he said he'll be in later on. And so like Ed Dollars just said, I am Just Heck. And welcome to another episode of STK. Tonight, we're going to talk about, obviously, the playoff series against the Hawks. And then we'll talk about, you know, some hopes for the future, some potential moves that could improve them. We'll talk about, you know, Coach of the Year, Tom Thibodeau. And we'll talk about some regular NBA stuff. So, Ed, let's start with you, brother. You know, they played the Hawks, the fourth and fifth seed matchup of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Didn't work out like we all thought it would. I know that we all kind of hoped. I had picked them to win in 4-2. But it didn't work out. Obviously, you know.
Underestimated the Hawks. First of all, that was a series that we all wanted. You know, we were pleasantly surprised that they made the fourth seed and they were able to face the Hawks. And we were, you know, the Hawks were a tale of two teams this year. They were terrible. They received some praise early before the season began because they had a swath of free agents. They got a stacked deck. Then they came off the gate really, really bad. Apparently there was coaching issues. They weren't playing well. Trae Young wasn't really, you know, playing team ball. He was playing, you know, one-on-one ball, and it wasn't working out for the entire team as a whole. There was some contract issues. Jason Collins wants to get paid. They fired their coach, and then they replaced him with the dude from the Pacers. By the way, the Pacers coach got fired today.
Yeah, I know.
They made the mistake right there. Anyway, that coach really set the bar high, corrected the issues, and the Hawks from that point on were probably one of two of the best teams in the NBA. And we faced them, and we faced a buzzsaw. Primarily, it came down to, you know, offense versus defense. And what we learned in the new NBA is it doesn't matter what your defense is. If you have a better offense, your offense is going to win. And they had the better pick and roll partner with Trae Young and Capella. Trae Young became a star in front of our eyes, and he brought a little bit of showtime to the Garden. Played like Reggie Miller, you know, waving to the crowd, doing bows, hitting big shots, pick and rolls with Capella. Capella was talking nonsense, and we got smacked, you know, in 5 games. And the problems on our offense were basically, it boils down to 2 things. Unfortunately, Julius Randle and RJ. Julius Randle was not the Julius Randle that was the most improved player of the year. He was inconsistent. He was timid, I would say. He didn't make his threes at the same percentage. He didn't shoot efficiently. RJ was not a good number 2 guy, and the most consistent player in the whole series for the Knicks was Derrick Rose, who's a 32, 33-year-old beat up former MVP that you can rely on a game or two, but you can't rely on 5, 6, 7 game series. Right. So and Tibbs, he was the coach of the year, and we'll get into all this stuff, but you got to make some you got to adapt or die. And he died at the Vine because his main man wasn't doing what was done the entire year, and he just didn't change his philosophy. Right. So, it was a bad outing for the Knicks, and at one point they got dominated. There were a couple of close games, maybe 2, but thereafter they got dominated. And unfortunately, the biggest sorrow of the whole thing was that they got dominated at home, specifically in that 5th game. And there was nothing the Knicks could do about it. But, there's a lot of hope, and we'll talk about the hope, all know it was a tough series, and, we'll talk about all this. And one of my biggest concerns is how the Knicks performed offensively. You can see that the parts are not there. But in the series, we saw some glimmers from Obi. Obi played well, man. And, I'm going to hold on to that. In fact, Obi kind of outplayed Julius in the minutes that he played, the limited minutes that he played. Every time that Obi was in the series, those were the times where the Knicks made the biggest runs. So that's like, that's something that we could we'll take a look at on a go for it basis. And the biggest theme of the entire year, every time we had a conversation, every podcast, we lack a point guard, and it was clear as day in this series that we lack the point guard.
Yeah. Coach B, what are your thoughts? You got to turn your mic on, brother.
Let's jump straight into the playoffs. The year went well, better than expected. So we got the matchup we thought we wanted. But if you really look at the paper, just to similar to what Ed said, they played well towards the end of the year. They had us at assists per game. They had a better point differential than us. They had us at rebounds per game. So, those little things definitely, take a big jump in the playoffs. So, we're leaning on Julius Randle to be the person he was in the regular season, but we know that everything gets tight in the playoffs. So, Obi gave us better minutes because he wasn't pressed. Obi wasn't trying to do everything. He let the game come to him. Julius Randle was forcing up shots and trying to go one-on-one and, trying to shoot fadeaways over guys that it just wasn't working. I feel like RJ could have got more touches, but, just the way that Derrick Rose scores the ball so quickly, it made sense to keep feeding him. And the biggest mistake for me, for Tibbs, was not playing Frank. I don't care if he can't shoot. Reggie Bullock did not hit enough shots to warrant him not getting off the floor. Alec Burks did not hit enough shots to warrant him getting every opportunity he got, even though I feel like he did a great job being a backup point guard in a sense, when he did come in for Derrick Rose in the first 2 quarters of the game. And he's able to get to the basket. He's able to create off the dribble and things like that. But put Frank at the 2, he doesn't have to do much. All he has to do is guard Trae Young. And that 9 for 24, 5 for 30 maybe, or 6 for 32 or something. Mm-hmm. And then those shots make a difference to me. Definitely. And it's just so frustrating because, yes, Reggie Bullock's the best defender on the floor, but he's a little slower than Frank. His foot speed is not there to contest or Trae Young's moves. And Frank did get beat when he only played 1 minute, but you don't put a guy cold, didn't play the whole game, on a guy that's hot. It's nonsense. It's ridiculous. So
24 seconds.
That gotcha. No, without a doubt.
Man,
without a doubt.
And it's at some point you let RJ go. Julius Randle don't got it. The series is kind of out of hand. We gotta enforce that RJ gets, those shots that he needs. That way he can get better for the next year.
Definitely.
Next playoff series. But other than that, shout out to Taj Gibson. You know, he did his thing. Shout out to Trey Young for closing the show the way he did. Shout out to all the shooters. Shout out to Gallinari, man.
Yeah.
Like that was one guy, that had all the confidence when he was here.
Yeah.
And obviously, he lasted this long as a pro. He should have stayed in New York. But
he's got a great agent.
If he would have stayed, we would have got Melo.
He's got a hell of an agent.
And Capella, stop with the trash talk, man. You a baby in the game. You ain't got no business stopping at the bit.
Is what it is. Well, fellas, you guys pretty much covered everything. One point to make is that the Knicks did overachieve this year. And this is a learning experience. It is about, and I will say to Ed, what you mentioned was that having the best defense in a league where you really can't really play defense doesn't really speak volumes. And Atlanta had all the scorers. And if you look at the major piece that every team mostly has in the league right now is the point guard. And they had Trey Young, who's a hell of a point guard. And he broke us down. He broke the Knicks down. He broke them down at every chance. He got people involved. He got the crowd involved. He had people spitting on him, and he relished it. Like he loved it. And I love that about him, man. I mean, he literally took that moment and was like, you know what? I'll see you in the A. And they won 2 there. They did their business there, and they closed it out in New York, man. Whether he's the new villain is the new rivalry, which I think is great because when have we really seen a rivalry in the last couple of years? Everybody's been too cool with each other. I like the spicy players. I like the fact that you got a Trey Young chipping, you hit him and he just gets up. He does that little thing with his jersey and he's tight. You know what I mean? He fixes his jersey up and he's just like, you know what? Okay, hit me again. Hit me again. I'm gonna get that one. So
when he bowed in the arena, I was like, wow.
I loved it.
I was in my house because I was like, wow, I can't hate on him.
Yeah, you love it.
In the arena and he's tearing us apart.
Mm-hmm.
Telling us he's tearing us apart.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, this is a learning experience for the Knicks. This is a moment for Julius Randle. He had a really bad playoff series, but this is something he can rebound from because, truth be told, he's a better player than what that series showed. He deserved to be the most improved player. He deserved the accolades. He deserved, whether he comes in a second team, all NBA, third team, first team, whatever. He deserved it, and he can rebound from this. This is something that they will get better. And obviously I don't want to get into the coaching too much because we can talk about that in the later segment. But, the Knicks definitely, shout out to the Knicks, the organization, the players, the coaches, they did their thing. Now moving on. We're looking at Coach of the Year, Tom Thibodeau, who we've been highly critical of. So I was a little shocked. I was a little shocked when Monty Williams got the coaches nod for Coach of the Year, but then the NBA named Tom Thibodeau as coach. And I was like, wait, what? Coach B, is this, hold on, Wall Street Heck is coming in the building. Sure. Coach B, does Tom Thibodeau deserve to be Coach of the Year?
Oh man, it's
putting you on the spot. Wall Street Heck.
Yo,
Wall Street, what's up, Wall?
Yo, from a marketing standpoint,
y'all can hear me.
The Knicks are good. So throw whatever you can throw at them. If there's a small chance that anything New York could get an award, the NBA is better when the Knicks are good. Okay. Overall, the defense spoke volumes. Turned this bottom feeder team, lottery team, into a 4th seed. Same thing for the Suns. But definitely a tougher transformation considered, who we had, the culture, the media. He blocked off a lot of noise, and he took care of business in that sense. Is he my choice? Obviously not. I'm not the biggest fan of his, but I would have gave it to I think Mike Malone.
On Denver?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Snyder, to be honest, because they both played
Quinn Snyder's not a bad pick either.
Yeah, so they both did better.
Utah Jazz coach.
Yo, he absolutely deserved to be the coach of the year, guys.
Well, let's get Wall Street first.
Absolutely.
Let's get Wall Street first.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Wall Street.
You on mute, bro?
You're on mute, brother. Does Tom Thibodeau deserve to be coach of the year?
Does Tom Thibodeau deserve to be coach of the year? Oh man, when I saw the performance in the playoffs, the only thing that I could think of was we heard a lot of like reasons why did we look so bad. There's a lot of reasons, and I think they all right. I think that the Hawks are better than we thought they were. I think that I think the Knicks played together. And I don't think that they had an offense, for whatever reason, they bought in and they played, So I'm a believer that you could give me a good coach and 5 good players. You could give me 5 good players that don't play together. And then give me 4 average guys, but they really gel. They really play together. They did what they had to do. And those average guys, if they gel, they're gonna compete with the all-star team, so to say. So my question is, was the Knicks' performance through the season a product of Coach Tibbs, or was it a product of a young Knicks squad saying, listen, you could draw up whatever offense you want. At the end of the day, we're gonna run this court hard and we're gonna play this game hard. So now when you see the playoffs, where was the coaching? It was absolutely it was non-existent. There were no adjustments. So it was like you put a bunch of
out coached them.
Absolutely. He had us. He sped us up. We were slowed down. We were sped up. We looked bad, man. We looked bad, and it's not only that we look bad, but when we look bad, we couldn't turn to coach and say, all right, mix it up a little bit, stir the pot, bring me some energy. It was like coaching was non-existent.
Okay. Ed.
All right. So the thing about these awards, just like a lot of other awards, is they're regular season awards. So you gotta. The reason why people win these awards is based off of the expectations of the beginning of the year. The Knicks were expected to win 22, 23 games. They won 40. That's unheard of in like the NBA. In Vegas, that's unheard of. Like if that's the equivalent of you saying, oh, you're gonna win. If you bet you may win 100 and you win $1,000 or like $3,000. So that's unheard of. They got the Julius Randle was on a giveaway contract. He became the most improved player, max player, NBA, all NBA player. You know what I'm saying? He resurrected Derrick Rose's career, and what Wall Street said was exactly correct. The Knicks came to play every night. But the thing about that is when you play hard every night, that's directly associated with coaching. That's not players. Players want to jack up shots. They don't want to play defense. And the fact that the Knicks were number 2 in defensive rating for the entire year, and the fact that they became the 4th seed, that speaks volumes. With regards to the Suns, on the other hand, remember they went to the bubble last year. They were basically in the playoffs last year. They got Chris Paul, who was an MVP candidate this year. They got Booker, who is a superstar, an all NBA talent, and they got a number 1 draft pick in Ayton. So the Suns were expected to make the playoffs. They just were expected to be a 7th seed, maybe a 6th seed. No one expected them to be a number 1 seed. So the differential between the Knicks doing what they did and the Suns doing what they did is different. His volume's different. So that, in a sense, is why Tibbs was the coach of the year, beginning of the season. Now, about Tibbs as the coach, unfortunately, the fact that he won coach of the year means that we're going to have to tolerate this guy for the next 5 years. And that's the problem. That is the number 1, 2, and 3 problem, because you know what? Tibbs cannot coach the Brooklyn Nets. Earlier we were talking about offense versus defense. The Nets don't play no defense at all, and they got a 143 offensive rating, and they're gonna waltz right into next year's NBA Finals. Not this year. They won this championship. They're gonna waltz into next year's NBA championship, and Tibbs can't coach them because Tibbs, the only way he coaches is his way or the hard way. And if you look at the Knicks roster, you had a bunch of players that were make good contracts. You had a bunch of players that were on 1-2 year contracts. You had Julius Randle, who became the hardest working player because he was about to get cut or traded or waived or whatever. You have RJ that's kind of cut off. He's in that work hard mold. So you got a bunch of players, no star mentality players. They're blue chip workers. And they're just gonna be like setting screens, playing hard D, shooting threes, basically assimilating to what Tibbs want to do. But you don't have any true alphas that would test the coach, because the coach didn't have those issues. If he didn't like you, he wouldn't play you. Nothing ever came out in the media. And when it did came out in the media, Austin Rivers, he was gone. And look at Austin Rivers now, helping Denver win playoff games. That's a mistake. And that was a Tibbs mistake. But that's not part of the whole coaching thing. He deserved to win the coaching of the year. But, I suspect that, unfortunately, because of this award, he'll be the coach for the next 3 years. And then, we'll get more talented players, but the offense won't reach the level that needs to be reached. And I suspect that this is probably the highest point we'll be at in the next couple years, because everything kind of hit right for us. Right. People, the Boston fell apart at the right time. The Pacers had this coach that was like a tyrant. The Pacers should have been way better than what they were. And they
fired him.
New tyrant coach.
They came at him today.
That would yell at the equipment manager.
Crazy.
Like this guy was nuts.
Yeah.
And they fell apart. Charlotte, Hayward got hurt. So there was a lot of things that broke right. And Atlanta, if they're playing the way they're playing now, from the beginning of the year, they would have been the 3rd seed, and we would have fell into the 5th, 6th, 7th seed. So things broke right. And, our offense has to improve. And we saw it, and we're going to continue seeing it in these playoffs, that you can win with defense in a regular season. But if your O's not right in the playoffs, you're not going to win. These aren't the 90s. No. We need players to make buckets. And the problem with the Knicks is when it comes to winning time, making bucket time, we don't have that. And also, Tibbs doesn't have a good offensive mind to design ways. The problem with the Knicks, one of the biggest problems is that every shot was a hard shot. Yep. I just read a stat that, we led the league in ISO plays. Like, we were top 4 in ISO plays, which is a difficult shot. No screens, no nothing. It was just me on one-on-one, and that's not good. Right. We don't have a simple offense, and that's directly correlated with the coach. Yep. But just to summarize, regular season, coach of the year, the Knicks exceeded everyone's expectations. In fact, the mass media kind of turned on their hate on the Knicks, and everyone was kind of rooting for the Knicks to do well. And most people had the Knicks beating the Hawks, not because they were a better offensive team, because they thought that they would beat them to death. Mm-hmm. We played this hard defense and beat them up, and everyone thought that the Hawks were soft, and we would rise above it and eventually win, provided that Julius was at the same level, and he wasn't. Knicks wasn't, and we lost. And then there's all sorts of questions. Oh, Julius, should we trade Julius? Will Nick get back here? Is Tibbs a good coach?
Let me tell you, man. Tibbs is the type of coach that needs an offensive mind on his bench. And you guys pretty much covered everything. And that was the only reason why I didn't have him picked. Like, I would have had him like second or third because of the Knicks turnaround, which was astronomical. You can't take nothing away from that. But it's a hard sell when you say they're first or second or third in the league in defense, when defense has changed. It's not the defense of the 90s or the 2000s where, you know, there was actual defense where you could, you know, the defender was given the same amount of rights as the offensive player. Now you got guys like Harden who can shoot a shot, kick you, and you get the foul. You know what I'm saying? Like it's bonkers what the defense is now in the league. So it's a hard sell. And yes, they did play defense to a certain extent, but that defense got picked apart in the playoffs. And you're right, this is a regular season award. My pick, if it wasn't Monty Williams, I would have probably picked Quinn Snyder just because Utah is the number one seed, and their turnaround, despite Rudy Gobert giving everyone COVID-19 last season, despite you know, everybody, you know, I thought he was gonna get traded. They not only didn't trade him, they gave him a max extension. They gave him $200 million. So shit,
just 14 points.
Exactly, it's crazy, but you know, it is what it is. You know, and they're just, their offense just look very standard. It looked very like, you know, option one on your PlayStation joystick. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, and there was no, he got out coached so badly by Nate McMillan. And I'm glad that Wall Street kind of pointed that out, the deficiencies and what they did. I'm glad, you know, listen, he won it. It is what it is. I'm happy for him. Is he my pick? No, but he won it. And you're right. Now the Knicks is stuck with him because now you got this coach of the year, and this is his second time winning it. So the Bulls had to stick with him after everything, after he overcoached Derrick Rose, after he, you know, overcoached Joakim Noah and everything. So it is what it is. But
and those offenses were terrible too. What made the Bulls offense okay looking was the fact that they had
Rose. It was Derrick Rose.
That was it. Their offense, their Joakim Noah.
Trash. If Rose never got hurt, man, he is one of the great what ifs of the NBA. Yeah. Besides him, Penny Hardaway, Brandon Roy, Grant Hill. I mean, man, those guys, if they stayed healthy, they changed the whole narrative of the NBA, bro. We be talking about something different. Like Dame Lillard is not on the Portland Trailblazers if Brandon Roy is healthy. You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's just a what if scenario, but you know, man, it is what it is. Guys, New York Knicks future moves. Obviously, you know, there was you know, at some point during the season, we would have draft board up because the Knicks were looking that bad. We were looking at, you know, what are the chances of a 1 through 7 kind of pick, and then we're looking at Dallas because Dallas wasn't doing that good either. Both teams end up making it. Okay, so you know they're getting some mid-draft picks here, to say the least. So the draft really isn't, although the draft is kind of loaded this year. You know, you're not really getting a top tier level in that middle round, but you're gonna get some good pieces. Wall Street, what do you think the Knicks need to do this offseason to improve the team?
We need to address the point guard situation. And there's been a lot of talks about Dame Lillard, and Dame Lillard would enjoy it over on this side, man. He playing for the East. We'd probably be a better team, but I think that's a trade that would have to happen. So, but you know, we got cap space, we got picks, we got a bench, and For Dame, there's I think the list of of untouchables is shorter than anything. Like I'm for Dame, I'm like, okay, you have the pickings of my entire bench. You can't touch Mitch, RJ, and for Dame,
You're not
for
touching Mitch
Dame.
again.
You can
No,
touch
I'm
You
not
didn't
touching
touch
Mitch,
Mitch for
man.
LaMelo.
I'm not touching Mitch because I got a guy.
Okay.
I got a guy that could be top 3 in the league at one specific thing for the next 3 to 4 years, which is rim
Blocks?
protection.
Okay.
So if I got that, I could count on this guy every night to lower a team's field goal percentage, get a couple of blocks, a bunch of offensive rebounds, which you need when we don't got exactly Splash Brothers over here. So we need guys that can clean up the glass.
So Wall Street, let me ask you this quick question. Right. So Nerlens Noel outplayed Mitch out of his position this year. Yeah. And you're still keeping Mitch.
Yeah, no,
even if Dame Lillard's on the table.
And I was always a big Nerlens fan, but I think those are the two untouchable bigs. Okay. Especially if we want to go in a direction like Dame Lillard. So I definitely want my rim protection right there. You got two guys right there that could seriously lead the league in blocks. That could help this team lead the league in blocks. So for Dame, I don't even think Julius is untouchable, especially with the energy that Obi brought in the playoffs. Let me tell you, man, you want to talk about Derrick Rose's greatness? I felt sick to my stomach that this guy couldn't give those young brothers a chance to rock when they clearly were showing that they were ready to rise to the occasion. He refused to give the ball up. And I don't know if that's Tibbs. We didn't get to see Frank. We didn't get to see Payton. Let me tell you something, man. After this coach of the year, I put his ass on the board for the performance that he put up in these playoffs. I'm that upset with Tibbs because he didn't go into the bench. I have no idea what happened to Elfrid Payton. We've been giving this guy crap for the whole year, but he's been the starting point guard on this team. And he's been making efforts night after night on defense. So you got a defensive-minded point guard that has been running this team at the one spot all year, and then you get a one spot killing us, and you don't put him in the game?
Payton like he was a savior.
Come on, man.
Terrible.
Listen. Alfred Payton
he played the first game. He was whack.
Yeah, he played the first game for like 7 minutes.
15 points. In like 8 minutes, he was whack, man.
All right, fine. So he plays 7 minutes.
STK's getting spicy.
He plays 7 minutes. He plays 7 minutes, and then you put in a 34-year-old Derrick Rose for the next. He was playing. How many minutes did Derrick Rose get? It was too much, man.
The problem. Yeah,
it was too much. We got 3 point guards. Why did I see so much? So why didn't I see any rotation? Especially, there's an old coaching analogy, right? If I don't got one guy on my squad that could stop this guy, so what I got to do, I got to throw bodies at him. They literally say that we're gonna throw bodies at them. That's what they used to do to that's what they still do to the
good. Like 15 fouls. You got 15 fouls. You got guys.
15, exactly. So send guys at him. And he's like refusing. Quickly is like playing with like, you could see like the energy coming off of him. He was ready to rock. Obi was ready to rock. And Derrick Rose, the ball was just stuck to his hand. And I didn't see Tibbs. I didn't even see Tibbs getting after him. I feel like this was like Tibbs like gave him a victory lap on the New York paycheck. Just like, hey, you know what? Your career's almost done. We're not going anywhere anyway. I'm gonna play you freaking 47 minutes tonight. Against Trae Young. Come on, man. Against Trae Young. It was horrible, man. It made me sick to my stomach. So for Dame Lillard, there's a very short list of untouchables, and it's the young guys. For Dame Lillard, if you can make it happen where we could get Dame Lillard and Cap and get Julius out of here, I do that because he showed us what he is. He showed us what he is. Hey, listen.
That's your man.
No, that's been my man. Hey, listen.
These bros ain't loyal.
Listen. Hey, listen. That's been my man. But if you could get Dame in here, and we could get some cap space and work on other forwards. Wow. I don't want to. I did enjoy watching Julius.
Wall Street, brother.
Yeah, he blew it up.
Wall Street.
They left.
You're gonna keep pitch and trade Julius Randle?
We got.
Okay.
Listen, I'm the type of person. Listen, when I think of building a team, I think of holes that I gotta fill. So if I put too much effort into scoring and not think about defense, I'm gonna just end up getting ran off the court every night. So what is Julius good for? He's not our greatest defender, right? What did he bring us this year? He brought us buckets all year long. I think Dame brought the league a few more buckets, and he brought important buckets, fourth quarter buckets. All right.
Okay.
So listen, a guy's career is made by what he did, by what he does in the playoffs, you know?
Okay.
And I would love to see Julius back in a Knicks jersey. But if you're talking about bringing Dame to the Garden from Portland, and we could get him, if we dump some contracts, we could get a guy like Dame and some cap space. So I could look at my 4th spot, which Julius currently fills, and I could think, damn, now I could do something else with that 4th spot because I got buckets coming. Maybe in that 4th spot, I could put a guy that gels well and can move the ball around. Maybe in that 4th spot, I could put in a guy that could play out the post. You know, I could put in a young, electrifying player. Okay. But if that's what you're going to give me in the 4th quarter, man, and I mean, if that's what you're going to give me in the playoffs, and think about it like this, it's a business decision. When is Julius Randle and Tom Thibodeau's stock gonna be higher? Their price ain't gonna be higher than this. Okay. So if you're gonna get something for Julius, get it now, because you might not get it later.
So Coach B, Wall Street, that was very extensive, and I don't know if you dropping acid. I don't know. We gotta talk to you later. Coach B.
I'm shocked how fast we jumped off the wagon. Like, I said,
these bros ain't loyal.
Day and day over here. I gotta play back episode 2. Just to get the I don't know, man. But as far as the draft is concerned, you can package the 2 picks and try to move up into the lottery, you know, sneak in, try to find a shooter. Mo Wagner's brother's out there. He's supposed to be a shooter and a good defender.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
The kid from UCLA should be in those teams. You know, he shoots lights out. So, like, again, finding those more shooters, obviously, you know, we want to mimic the better teams in the league. Atlanta, unlimited shooters. And then Dame is nice. I think Mitchell Robinson is available for me personally. Julius Randle kind of not available. You know, most improved player, the heart of the team. You know, so we'll ride him until he's no good at this point. And then I know Kemba Walker's been hurt, but I'm still huge on Kemba Walker as a hoop. You know, and like just having him with a great opportunity and with not like that dynamic wing taking away shots from him, I think that'll help his game a lot. You know, because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they just take the life out of the ball. So if Kemba Walker becomes available, you know, that'd be like a small trade because he has a big contract and he's not really like fitting in too well over there. So, you know, that won't cost much.
Would you you're not concerned about his injury history? The lack of knees? For Kemba.
What do we got? What do we got? We gonna ride that? I'm prepared out the door. I'm waiting to come back. Yeah. And definitely, unfortunately, you got to trade Frank and Kevin Knox. You know, they're losing their value.
I'm the biggest fan. I've never seen Frank. Get them out of here. Get them all out of here.
Listen. If Frank plays, it's a different. We at least go to 6. If Frank is on Trae Young for 18 minutes a night, we at least go to 6 games.
That's 6 fouls.
Yeah,
6 fouls.
So like, and Kevin Knox can shoot the lights out the ball, man. But Tibbs is on the.
Don't like him. Tibbs don't like Knox.
Austin Rivers.
Like, ridiculous.
I hear you.
I don't mean to interject, fellas, but that series has me sick to my stomach.
Yeah. I think Nerlens Noel earned a contract, so like Taj Gibson is obviously favored, but like regular season purposes, you got to keep Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson. You know what? Package Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle if you have to. Only if you have to for like a big.
Should have did that last year for LaMelo Ball.
Well, Reggie Bullock unfortunately earned his contract. You know, he earned a second contract. And Alec Burks, you're good, but you're out of here.
A name to quickly drop in there, Josh Christopher. He's projected at 18.
You can't shoot.
Knicks, but you get a ball handler.
You just brought Kawhi. Kawhi's available this summer, right?
That's true too.
He's available every summer.
And Dallas. And
all right, guys. Now I gotta bring you guys back to planet Earth. You guys are fucking living in the Avenger lands or some shit. Hey, listen. Julius Randle played a fantastic year. I don't think his 3-point percentage will stay at 42%, but I don't think it'll be 32%. So I don't think that this year was an outlier. But we clearly understand that he's not a number one option. He's a low end number two, and that's okay. And so as luck would preside, you know, he's available for the max at $27 million a year for the next 4 years. I think that's a reasonable contract. I think we should definitely extend that contract to him, and then we would have a piece to the puzzle. You know, we obviously need a point guard. Derrick Rose is great off the bench, and he's going to be 33 years old next year. He's going to be, 1 year away from this year. So who knows what we're going to get. And there's a lot of point guards out there. Kemba Walker, the Celtics had actually there's an article out today about Kemba Walker, how he didn't jive with Ainge, how Ainge had a trade in place on his behalf, and how Kemba is not liking the whole, as you mentioned, coach, the two guys situation. So he wants out. The problem with Kemba Walker is he makes $35 million a year. And for a trade, that's a lot of trade pieces. We have to package too much. And he's what they call a negative asset, where if they trade him to us, they should be giving us a first round draft pick, because he's a declining asset. His legs are not so good. He plays once every 3 days, like, to his ability. So, Kemba's out there. I'm not sure I'm down with that. There's other players, obviously, if we can get Dame Lillard, I get Dame. But you don't trade Julius Randle for him.
You don't
trade Mitch, and you trade all the draft picks we have. And you put some fillers in there, like Burks or Frank or whatever. And really, all they care about is the draft capital. You know what I'm saying? But if we can get Dame, that's the first time in a long time that's a realistic option. And it's so realistic that in Vegas, the odds of us getting Dame is at the highest. Usually the Lakers get him, the Miamis would get him, but we're at a position where this year taught the players outside of New York that New York is a viable situation. And the reason why it's a viable situation, beyond our play on the court, really because of this. We were an okay team this year. We were a good team. We made the playoffs. We were the 4th seed. We were a scrappy bunch, but we outshined the Brooklyn Nets, the best team on the planet. We outshined them. We took all the headlines. They were quiet like mouses. We were the talk of the town. We were on ESPN. Everyone talked about us. No one talked about the Nets. And that, if you're a player on the outside, you're like, yo, if I go to the Knicks, my brand just jumps. And that was never the case. Like, we always sold that story to players like LeBron back in 2010 and all that stuff, but they never really saw it. Carmelo got a glimpse of it. Amari got a big glimpse of it.
Yeah.
But now with these rad-tad group, Julius is getting all the love, and he's getting more love than Kevin Durant. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy. But other point guards that we could, other players that we can get.
So hold on, real quick question. Would you rather have KD or Julius, though?
KD or Julius?
No, that's not even a question.
Because he's killing right now. Easy. Of
course.
He's giving dudes an easy 30.
He's ridiculous. He's still a ridiculous in his feelings kind of guy.
I'm just saying, would you rather have, but would you rather have KD or would you rather
obviously have KD? He's the man. But, obviously, I talked about this a bunch. I would love to extend an offer to Lonzo Ball. I think he fits in with what the Knicks are trying to do. He plays hard defense. He hits 3-point shots. He gives up the ball willingly, which would allow Julius to still kind of control the ball. And then, the only problem that Lonzo Ball has is his half-court pick and roll offense. He needs to be better at breaking down his opponent, and he hasn't really shown that. But every other aspect of his game has improved. So, my money's on us getting Lonzo. Chris Paul is out there. He made a ton of money this year. He got the Suns into the right position. Booker's the man, but for whatever reason, Chris is getting all the love, and he's gonna opt out of his $44 million contract. And he's gonna seek a 3-year, $100 million contract. The Knicks could give it to him.
He's a manager. He's a listen, for the series against Denver right now, he's got 24 assists and 1 turnover.
Yeah.
That's all. Listen, you put him on the Knicks, they're easily a 50 win team. Easily.
But the whole problem is that Father Time is undefeated. He'll be 37 next year. And he'll be 39 by the end of the contract.
All he's doing, even for the Suns right now, all he's doing is just pushing the ball. He's navigating the offense. Devin Booker's the one scoring. Ayton's the one scoring. He's just setting the table. He's letting the young guys.
Yeah, he's campaign looking good.
Yeah.
He's looking good. And then you got Kyle Lowry. Don't forget about him from Toronto. We can get Kyle Lowry. We can get DeMar DeRozan. We can get Spencer Haywood. There's a whole bunch of players that we could get. Obviously we have enough cap space to really absorb players. I heard a rumor about John Wall. I don't want to be around John Wall. I don't think he's good for the team. But the whole point of all this is that the Knicks are positioned to do good things. They have a good cap situation. They got a couple good players in Julius Randle, RJ, Obi, quickly. We have a ton of money in cap space. We have like a swath of draft picks. We're going to pick 2 picks in the top 20, probably 18 and 21. There's a point guard from Butler that's really good, or we could package all that shit and get a disgruntled player. So I think the future is bright. And the brightest part of the future is the basketball operation side of things. Leon Rose, my man's a thinker. And I know that Phil Jackson was a thinker. He just didn't put the work behind it. While Leon Rose is a thinker, puts the work behind it. And then beyond that, he hires other worker bees. He hired a great coaching staff. Beyond Tibbs, you have a bunch of dudes from Kentucky, the guy from Utah, Johnny O'Brien. You got a lot of guys. He hired a capologist for the first time. So the intelligence level on the Knicks front office is there. And honestly, I have full faith in them. And this is the year that they're going to actually prove all that. Last year, they came into the situation. They didn't really do much. They got a bunch of 1-year contracts, and they all worked out. There wasn't one contract didn't work out, maybe Austin Rivers. This year, they got cap space, and then we're really going to see their negotiation abilities, trying to get a big free agent, maybe trade someone. They trade someone, RJ may have to go. Like if I'm the Blazers and I'm trading for Damian Lillard, I'm gonna want RJ. So, and I'm prepared to give up RJ actually and Mitch for Damian along with the draft picks. But I think the future is bright for the Knicks from a structure perspective.
The one thing, and I agree with all you guys. Well, Wall Street heck, we got to talk off camera. We got to talk off camera. Kind of couple of moves, but for the most part, I think you guys are all headed in the right direction. But the one thing none of you guys talked about was coaching. There needs to be.
You're not going nowhere.
No. So you don't get rid of Tibbs, but you need an offensive mind on that bench. Because no matter what you bring in, and I'll be honest with you, you can bring in anybody. You don't, if you have that same stagnant ass offense running, you're gonna run into the same problems, the same predictable, plays that are coming that literally that a team, and this is nothing against Atlanta because they beat the Knicks. But they're not defensively high IQ. If they can read your plays and know what you're doing, you're running. You need to switch it up. You need to become a little bit more creative. And Tibbs isn't that guy. But you bring a guy who can add some pizzazz to that offense. A different offense will attract players because players want to score. This is a scorer's league. You give guys the ability to score. You create plays that give them the ability to score. Players will come. But right now, what you saw was a predictable offense and a team that the Knicks should have beaten. They got beaten by because they couldn't counterpunch, and then the punches that they were coming back with was so predictable that they gave up. In game 5, all you saw was ISOs. RJ Barrett on the wing. You know what I'm saying? You saw a myriad of different players who shouldn't have been ISOing. The only guy on that team I really want to see ISOing is maybe RJ and Julius Randle. RJ Bullock should not be ISOing anyone. I don't care who it is.
Here's a prediction for you guys.
Right.
My prediction is that Tibbs will get fired within his tenure as Knicks coach because of exactly what you said. But just to argue against one of your points, Heck, is that if you're a number one option, you're going to want to come to the Knicks because Tibbs has an affinity towards number one options. If you can put the ball in the hole, he's going to design his whole offense around you.
Right. But if you look at his history with that, you look at Derrick Rose, and then when Derrick Rose went down, you look at Joakim Noah. Joakim Noah had a horrible shoulder injury. Derrick Rose, you know the history with Derrick Rose. So I don't know if you really want that. I think I go back to a conversation that we had when the Knicks played OKC early in the season. Right, when the Knicks kind of went on a winning streak and then they played OKC and OKC smacked them.
Yeah.
And I remember exactly what you said, Ed. You were like, yo, OKC's offense looked exotic. Like they were running plays and it was, they had guys at the corners, guys cutting. And the Knicks didn't have that. You need somebody on the bench who's going to tell Tibbs, yo, maybe we should run this. Let's try, let's infuse that. In fact, Tibbs, you think about the defense. You're still the head coach. You got the head coach money. But you got to bring an offensive mind in because no matter who you bring in, it's all going to go to crap if you don't have something, you don't have an offense that's worthy of a player to come into that wants to play in that. You know what I'm saying? If we're running the same set, you think about this, right? You come into the game and you're running the same set and it's not working. And then the other team starts scoring and your coach is like, run the same play. And you look at the coach like, but this ain't working. And that's what was happening. Like at some point, Julius Randle's faults aren't just on him. The Coach Tibbs kept trying to, he's putting him in bad positions. And it's like, Antetokounmpo 2 seasons ago where the coach just didn't make the right counter plays. You're running that same curl off the wing. Yeah. And the Raptors were like, no, we're going to cut that off. And Antetokounmpo was like, okay, I'm stuck. And Julius Randle was running into that and it killed his confidence. So by game 5, he's just like, okay, I'm either going to spot up or every time he missed a shot, you could just see it in his eyes. He's just like, oh, like I'm sinking. He's in the sunken place almost. So I don't know.
This is where the front office has to come into play because honestly, the person that's going to make the decision on getting an offensive coach is going to be Tibbs. And the front office, Leon Rose, has to have an honest conversation with Tibbs and talk to him and say, what do you think about the offense? What are the problems with the offense? You know what I'm saying? And they have to come to an agreement. And Tibbs has to say, you know what? Maybe we should hire someone. Because if he doesn't say that, it's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's, like Leon Rose as a savvy negotiator front office has to kind of persuade him to do it, but it won't be his call because he respects Tibbs too much. That might be.
I don't know. You could bring in a bunch of guys, but if again, if you're running that same offense that sputtered against Atlanta, you're not really gonna get far enough. You're gonna get disgruntled players who are realizing, you know what, they're gonna turn on the coach at some point because
here's my other issue, and I'll let Coach B and Wall Street talk about this as well. One of the fears I have is that Tibbs was so good in the regular season. He had the guys playing at this level. You know what I'm saying? When all the rest of the NBA usually plays at this level. So that differential, won us those games. But in the playoffs, the other teams played at this level.
Yeah.
And the Knicks, that was their max. So I'm wondering in the back of my mind if there was another gear that the Knicks could have gone to, and I'm not sure they could have. You know what I'm saying? And usually in the playoffs, people kick it up a notch.
Yeah.
And because the Knicks play so hard, because of the hard coaching that they get, could they have kicked it up a notch? And I don't know if they could have.
Coach, what do you think?
You saw it with with the younger guys. Obi. Quickly. Alec Burks always has his moments. So he just gotta, he gotta trust his rotation. He gotta trust those back of the bench guys, and then he gotta understand situational lineups. You can't ride the same horses, every game and then expect them to play well in every series. You gotta throw certain guys out there, because he has thrown Frank at De'Aaron Fox. He has thrown Frank at Trae Young, but in the playoffs, that mentality went out the window, and he's riding the same horses. I'm like, wait, where's your logic to that? You see the ball being moved better. You see the offense flowing better with Obi on the floor. Why not find a way to leave Obi on the floor? In practice, we have those dummy defense moments. We're trying to go through an offense. So defense, you're going to be on dummy D so we can run through the offense and just see some defense. He went to dummy offense. We're like, oh, you see this before, but we're just going to keep running it. We're going to be on dummy offense. And he wanted Julius Randle to put up points and never got it done. He just sat there hoping and praying, all right, Julius Randle's going to have a good night tonight. All right, Julius Randle. Motherfucker, read. After the first quarter, he's 4 for 10. You got to put somebody else out there. Good players are not 4 for 10 in the first quarter. They're either 3 for 3, 4 for 5, at most 3 for 7. They're not 4 for 10. They're not 5 for 15 at halftime. And then you're still riding him. You're riding the wrong horse. I was losing my mind.
Wall Street. Oh, your thoughts, man.
It was bad, man. The only thing that I could take from this season is that we officially, listen, you guys are getting at me if I'm a Julius Randle fan. I'm not a Julius Randle fan. I'm a Knicks fan. You know what I'm saying? And when Julius Randle came into this season, I saw a guy that could help the Knicks win because of the position that he was in his career. I saw his game. I saw what he could do on the basketball court. And I thought that he could be good for us this season. I thought that Marcus Morris and Bobby Portis, I thought that Julius could have been this last year. But something happened last year where the whole thing ran into a wall and we lost the year. But then we got back on track this year. How did we get back on track? Because Julius Randle got back on track. But what do we got now? We got a piece. Man, I'm opening the entire Knick book and I'm doing whatever we can, because at what point in the last 10 years did we have an asset that could bring us an asset like Dame? So now we got a bunch of those things. And you know what? It's hilarious because in the beginning of the year, I was like, give Julius a break. He might contend for an all-star appearance. He might average a double-double and at least get his name floated around for an all-star game. But then you know what happened was he overperformed. He played really well, but the guys around him also played really well. Burks had an excellent year. Bullock had an excellent year. RJ had a really good year. And then we had the emergence of Quickly and then D Rose. And like Ed said, all the pieces fell together. But now what we have a Julius that a lot of people around the league are talking about. So you guys don't want to strike on that now? I'm gonna tell you right now, the value of that property is as high as gonna be for a while. All right. And if you're like holding on to them because come on, it's like you said, the reason that we we were outperformed in the playoffs, definitely in the coaching staff, right? The coaching staff was outperformed, right? Our star player, Julius Randle, was definitely outperformed by their star player, Trey Young. That's without a doubt.
100%.
So this is the time. We're not gonna have this again. So I'm packaging pretty much anything but the players on my team. If I'm gonna go get a guy like Dame, I'm gonna reiterate. I know that I'm getting 29 points a game damn near. So I'm just holding on to my defense. I'm holding on to my defense for dear life. And then I just can't stop thinking about this one thing. You remember the year that LeBron James went to the Lakers, the first year that he got there? At one point when they were done with that trade, I think there was like a month left before the season was about to start, and the Lakers had like 6 guys on their roster.
Right.
Do you remember that? I mean, the league was about to start. It was about a month away, and that trade had left the Lakers with like 6 guys, and they had to go out and find a whole new roster. But you know what they did? They did a 3-year plan. You know what I'm saying? So I think we open our books to whoever in the league is willing to look at them. You take everything out of there, and if you tell Dame, hey Dame, listen, Tibbs is not even untouchable. If you don't want to deal with this no offense, one show, one trick pony, then we'll move his ass too. You know what I'm saying? Because this all of our assets are valued very high right now. And if we put the same squad on the court next year and they play even a little bit worse than what they played this year, whew, that's an avalanche that you don't want to be in the bottom of.
They make the 5th seed next year.
So
But
fellas,
I don't see Damian leaving Portland. To tell you the truth, I've been hearing a lot of talk on.
Although there's been some grumblings because the GM of Portland kind of clapped back. Like he had made some comments about Dame making some things getting leaked by Dame in terms of coaching and all that stuff. And the GM kind of countered and was like, I don't, he basically, the comment he made was that I don't think we lost because of the Portland roster. He goes, and he said that's upsetting, or he said that's sad if that's what he actually said. And I think
that's what. Well, by him saying that, he's really talking about the coach. He's basically saying that they lost because of the coaching, not the players.
Right.
Try to alleviate Dame's concern. Right. But I can see them making a shakeup, and I can see them not trading Dame because Dame's not going to want to get
CJ's
traded.
Gone.
I think CJ's gone, and I can see them trying to ship CJ to the Knicks, and I can see them asking for Randall. Not that we would give him Randall, but CJ's a good player. I mean, I would take CJ.
He'd average 20 in New York. He'd be a hell of a player.
I'd trade CJ for a first. This year's first, I would definitely do that. This year's 2 firsts, I would definitely do that.
Yeah, they're 19 and 21. Those are the picks that they end up.
I would do that. I would send those to the Blazers for CJ. Why not?
Definitely.
CJ is what, 30, 29?
Nah, he's in his 30s.
I think he's like 29 though. He a guard. He's a number 2. He can shoot it. He could dribble. He's not a.
He can dribble.
He got a point.
You can still trade for Lonzo. That'd be all right.
Yeah, definitely. So fellas, with everything, Knicks are obviously out of it.
They're on vacation.
But looking at where we started at the beginning, man, and where we're at now, where the fact that they got eliminated from the playoffs and didn't have to do a play-in, where we went through different phases where we were like, oh no, are they gonna get Evan Mobley? Are they gonna get Cade Cunningham? You know what I'm saying? Did the Knicks join the Cade Cunningham sweepstakes to like the riding the wave of like, oh man, they got a win streak. And then Julius made the All-Star game. And, then they started slow out the gate off the All-Star break, but then they picked it right back up. I mean, it was a hell of a ride with you guys during this season. It was amazing. How would you guys grade this season? And we'll start with you, Ed. Overall
is an A+. I mean, again, basing on expectations, our expectations were really low. The first couple of pods we were talking about, who we're gonna fade for Cade. We had a whole pod about who we're gonna draft, man. You know what I'm saying? How are we gonna trade this, right? And how Tibbs was trashed the entire 2 months of the whole season. We were talking about that. All of a sudden, at the end of the season, they're number 4th seed, and they were just trekking along, playing hard defense, winning games, and all of a sudden, like a snowball, it became a fucking giant ball that rolled down the mountain and got to the 4th seed. It was amazing. In fact, we didn't have a pod for the last 12 to 15 games, and that was the biggest streak. They won last 8 or 9 games. It was crazy. And it jumped them to the 4th seed. I mean, the Knicks had a fantastic season. The NBA was buzzing about them. People were talking about the New York Knicks. And again, I personally think that the Brooklyn Nets will win the championship, and we overshadowed them. And they had Harden, KD, and Kyrie, and the Knicks with Julius Randle overshadowed them in this market. It's crazy. They deserve all the accolades. I think that they get an A++. They faltered in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? That's when, if you judge it in totality, that's when you can knock it down a notch or two. But even knocking it down to 2, they get an A++. They were supposed to get 22, 23 games. People don't talk about this enough, but they have the lowest payroll in the league. And they either have the lowest payroll or the second lowest payroll, with Oklahoma City coming in with the last payroll. Those dynamics don't happen often. You don't have the lowest payroll in the league and be the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference. You know what I'm saying? And get favored to win against your opponent. That just doesn't happen when you had a bunch of trash players the year prior. You know what I'm saying? It all fell into place. And looking at that coupled with the outlook of the Knicks, with their front office, with the cap space, with their management, with their coaching staff. Yeah, offense needs help. Defense did well. We had a lot of players hurt, but we have a lot of positive momentum. How can you give them anything but an A for the season?
Okay. Coach.
Oh, thank you. A-, man. And that's barely. Definitely, so something close to an A, just because of the expectations, the energy, kind of walked into it oh, here we go, same old Knicks. I don't think the roster is good. The roster really isn't good at all. There's a few pieces, but I'm also want to think long term. What are we getting excited for next year? Like Wall Street said, Julius Randle, is kind of at his plateau. Can he really get better? RJ, how could he get better? So all those little things, I didn't see enough to make me say, oh yeah, we're gonna be better next year. Or I'm excited to see such and such players next year. I'm hopeful, that they look better. But everything that Tibbs tells me has me kind of weird, kind of nervous about what's gonna happen next season. Okay. So definitely an A- for the players that nobody wanted. We made the best out of those guys, and definitely finding serviceable uses for Nerlens Noel, who was a number 2 pick, and seemed like lost in the sauce, but now it could be a long-term option to play 24 minutes a night on any given team for the kind of energy he brings. Taj Gibson, again, someone no one ever pays any attention to, but is serviceable, and then Derrick Rose, man, feel-good story, real feel-good story for Derrick Rose. I want to see more from the young guys going forward, but knowing Tibbs, I can't count on it. But what he did, A-. And shout out to the guys because the guys play hard. You know, they got the Garden rocking again, and they made the playoffs. You know, everybody was talking to me about the Knicks in the playoffs. I had to entertain, excited, but I already knew that Julius Randle was not going to get those 24 points per game.
Definitely.
Minus for what we had, how it turned out.
Without a doubt. Wall Street.
All right, man. Yeah, definitely give it an A because it was an exciting season. You wanted to like rush home and watch the Knicks games. You wanted to see who Julius Randle was gonna elbow in the face tonight. You know, you definitely wanted to see these things. But I think the thing that gets me excited that the team gets an A is I'm really excited to see what the front office is going to do. I think that a lot of the success of this season, we should look at the front office. The front office has been, you know, jumping around for a couple of years now, and it seems like we're only taking steps back. But the front office, they just made major moves. You know, they were dropping players and picking players up, and you're like, oh snap, look, we got Ernest Noel. Like, oh, you know, and you know, we got Bullock, and they dropped Alfred Payton and picked them back up, and it was like they were definitely sending signals that they were gonna be ruffling feathers, you know. So I'm really excited to see what the front office is gonna do, and is gonna do next. And yeah, for getting us, you know, into the 4th seed and getting us in the playoffs, you definitely get an A.
Okay, all right, definitely. I mean, I would give him an A too. My criticisms aren't as harsh as Coach B, but that's because he's a coach. So he you know, he's got to analyze everything. I think I agree with you, Wall Street. It was definitely a hell of a ride. As you guys are talking, I'm thinking about all the conversations that we had from the beginning of the season, man, and even to end up here. This is like, you know, I feel like, you know, have you guys seen Loki, the new show? Like, I feel like the TVA is gonna pop through and pull me through the portal because we're all deviants. Like, we all this shouldn't happen. You know what I'm saying? We're all gonna be on trial for creating a new line in history or something. But you know, yeah, it was dope. Yeah, they have deficiencies. You know what I'm saying? You know, and this wasn't something that was going to get fixed right away. But we all know that the Knicks being in the playoffs is always great for New York. I'm not a Knicks fan like that, but I know for a fact I love when the Knicks are in the playoffs because it's something. It's like the city's just alive, and it's just like, yo. And the fact that, you know, dudes were on IG Live talking about, you know, all the stuff they would do to Trae Young if he went to Washington Heights, or if he went to the Bronx, or he went to Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Or you know, just people when they started chanting, "We want Brooklyn," and I'm like, shit, you got to get past Atlanta first. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that was awesome. That was amazing. Like, I loved it all. So I think it was a great ride. I give it an A. You know, but you know, like Ed said, you know, we were here with the Knicks, but now next year, because of all the expectations, puts you up here. And do you blow up the team? Do you blow up the team and you try to go get Dame? You know, or do you, you know, what do you do in preparation to meet those new expectations? Because now you make the first round, now you got to get to the second round. Next year, you got to, you know, because, you know, it's New York expectations. You don't make the first round and get bumped again, because then it's like, no, get rid of everything. You know, you got to make the second year. You got to, you know, you got to get to the Eastern Conference Finals now or whatever. So I think that's a tough task ahead of them. But you got Quickly, you know, you got my man who they should be running more pick and rolls for, who's probably going to be Julius's replacement if you know, if they decide to make a move or whatever. But you know, I don't know. It's weird because you want to kind of keep some of that core together and bring in somebody, but there's a lot of questions to be answered. But overall, I would give it an A, considering that they started out 0-2. and ended up as a 4th seed with the most improved player of the year, with the coach of the year, and you know,
40 games.
exactly. They won 40 games, and you know, it was impressive. They did their thing. They gutted it out, and they showed they had heart. I wouldn't trade RJ for anybody, but if you're talking about Dame, you might have to. You know what I'm saying? You might
Definitely
have
gonna
to.
trade Obi.
Yeah, Obi, you know, you know, Knox is probably available. Knox should be available, to be honest with you, but this is what it is.
And unfortunately, Knox gets a bad rap. Why? Like every time I saw him play, he does what they asked him to do. I don't understand what the bad rap is about. You know what I'm saying?
He needs a new start. He needs a new start.
Yeah, like Rivers.
Yeah,
and watch him be a better version, and we're gonna be like, well,
Yeah.
new start. No,
Yeah.
we need to develop these type of players because that's how we get better. But you know, who am I?
Definitely. No, it's true though. He just needs a new start. He probably needs he needs an agent that's gonna help him get to a better position and a better place that's gonna utilize his talents. Because I still think there's a chance that he can start in this league. He probably just fell out of favor with Coach Tibbs, and but you got to give him credit because he never said anything about it. He's probably gonna do a tell-all at some point. Yeah. But right now,
not to beat this to death, but if the Suns are killing.
111.86.
But let me ask you a question: if Tibbs was the coach of the Suns,
oh no,
would Mikal Bridges be playing right now?
No, he wouldn't.
So therefore, that's the problem I have with Tibbs. Mikal Bridges is doing his thing, and he's like a Knox. He's exactly like a Knox. He's a better Knox, but he's a 3-and-D guy. He hits the three, and I think that's what Knox would be if they played him. And a guy like Tibbs, for whatever reason, wouldn't play Mikal Bridges. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. But it is what it is, man. He needs help on that bench, man. But I think that's one of the many questions that Leon Rose, they got their shoes filled. They got their hands filled, rather. Hands.
Yeah.
They got a lot of things to do this offseason to be better. But again, a New York championship parade would be so much better than a Brooklyn Nets parade.
Exactly.
To be honest with you.
Although we're going to the Brooklyn Nets parade this year, but yeah.
Oh, bro. I mean, the Nets, man, they're going to the finals at least.
They're gonna win the championship.
I don't want to say that. I think Phoenix. I think
Clippers?
Phoenix can beat them. I think Phoenix can.
Suns?
I think Phoenix can beat them. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But but man, they look so good right now that it's like, hey, KD, man. I mean, he's dropping 30 easy. Like, it's not hard. Like, he makes it look like we could all just suit up and just go onto the court. Like, it's just easy for him. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they did a great job. That's really the template that the Knicks should follow. They did a great job building that team. Kyrie's amazing. KD's a monster, the best offensive player in the NBA. And even Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin's banging it on people.
Come on, man.
He caught this.
They need to investigate Blake Griffin. They need to investigate him because he was like on the injured reserve, and all of a sudden he's dunking on Antetokounmpo. Like, come on, man.
Blake is actually playing like Blake Griffin, and it's scary out there.
He needs to be investigated. He was lying about everything.
And the white boy, the 3-point white, what's his name?
Harris.
Harris. Joe Harris.
Oh, Joe Harris. Yeah, Harris. Yeah.
Wide open. He's wide open for shots. Like he's gonna make them all.
They can't cue in on him. I mean, they can't. They literally have to watch KD and Kyrie.
The Bucks are just lost, man.
That even if they're winning by a lot, and they don't even Harden yet.
They don't even have. They're not gonna play in this. He's gonna be fine for Game 4, and he's not gonna play. Because they're going to win tomorrow, and there's no reason to play him.
Seriously.
We'll see him in the Eastern Conference Finals against Philly.
Philly? Is it going to be Philly?
Yeah.
It better be.
The way Philly beat Atlanta yesterday, they finally put Ben Simmons on Trey. And Ben is just too big for Trey. Ben you know, Trae Young is nasty. Let's make no mistake about it. But Ben
He
Simmons
couldn't get around him. He couldn't get
Ben
around
Simmons
him
is
though.
an all NBA defensive player, and he's equally as nasty on the defensive end. And he's mad big. He's 6'9", 6'10".
No, he's 6'11". 6'11".
And that jazz
Yeah.
you mentioned, just heck about, like, you know how Trey jumps into you and
Yeah.
he shoots and he gets the foul.
Yeah.
Can't do that with Ben. Ben is too
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can't you get away with it in the playoffs, but you get away with it a little less in the playoffs.
Yeah,
The only way they lose is if MB gets like more hurt. He like messed up his
torn meniscus.
Yeah, that's bad. But there was a series where Capella banged it on him hard.
Oh yeah, he came back.
He came back, he bumped him and banged it, and then looked at him like, yo.
Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. Oh man. Fellas, this was super fun. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely glad, we need to do this more often. Any last words? Anybody can go first. Any last words?
I'm gonna go first. Yo, I'm super happy for the Knicks. You know, I'm very happy. This has been a great ride. Surviving the Knicks, exactly what it was, man. We survived every aspect of the Knicks. You know, every expectation that you could possibly have, we had this year. We had Julius Randle's a bum conversations. We had Cade, we had Tibbs is whack. We had, oh my God, RJ MVP, Julius MVP. I can't believe Trae Young's doing this to him. You know, what do we do with Julius Randle? Like, we had a whole full circle roller coaster ride. It was fun. It was great to watch the games intently, and also talking to you guys, man. Coach B, a Wall Street Just Heck. It was awesome to talk to you guys, to discuss the Knicks in detail, to discuss the NBA. And this has been a fantastic season. I'm glad to really to yap with you guys about my New York Knicks.
Awesome.
Yo.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll go. Yeah, man. I think out of everything that I could take, that this was the first season that we started this, and I'm actually moving, and I was parking my car earlier, and then I saw the text. I was like, oh snap, I forgot. So I was running late. You know, I'm taking classes and I'm moving, and so I'm parking the car, and I was like, man, I remember in the beginning of the season, I was doing it in the car because I had my mother-in-law in the house. And it was like, oh, Heck is in the back cave. Heck is in the back cave. But yeah, man, it was crazy because it was just like, really, like, I've always been a Knicks fan. I'm always going to catch as many games as possible. But, before it was like, if something came up, I was going to do whatever I had to do. But like this year was like, I got to watch the Knicks game. It was like get on my job, and and that made it really great, man. So, shout out to you guys.
Word, man. Just literally to piggyback off that, like, as being a coach and a ref, and a hooper, like, it's hard to watch a lot of the NBA games certain times. But then, like, being getting the podcast going, so I gotta watch the game.
Yeah.
I gotta have all the stats on point. Like, I gotta be sure what's going on during certain segments. So yeah, you guys really got me back to watching the game like die hard, and definitely always the home team. Gotta love them, even though you literally gotta survive some of the interesting parts, and the whole season full circle from the Knicks starting on a downtrend to finishing on a high note. Like, losing in the playoffs was literally our peak, and we made it that far. So, like, big shout out to all the players, and shout out to y'all.
Nah, definitely, man. Shout out to you three guys, man. You guys, I had an amazing time with y'all. You guys got me into watching the Knicks, and if anybody I grew up with saw this logo behind me, they'd be blowing up my phone right now, because I used to have the only battles. I was literally like the only guy on my block who was a Phoenix Suns fan, and we'd have these insane battles. How do you like Phoenix and you live in New York? Like, you a sucker. Yo, to get it. Like, I was sad, but it was fun, especially with you guys. I appreciate y'all for, allowing me to, host and moderate and get this, help you guys get this thing going. And man, like, sky's the limit, man. This is gonna be something. I think each of you guys bring an amazing amount of detail to your analysis of the Knicks and what needs to be done. And each of you guys, it's fun listening to each of you guys talk. And it's like, you guys nail it, man. And more people hear this, they're gonna see. You guys, you got three smart dudes, But we definitely got to talk off screen, Wall Street. We definitely got to talk. We got to have an intervention.
Yeah,
we got to test your urine and figure out what's going on. Because you got to let go of Mitch, man. Yeah, you didn't let go of Mitch last year, and you lost out on LaMelo. Now you're not trying to let go of Mitch. And like Dave Lillard may be on the table. Like, you got to let him go. You can find a shot blocker. Nerlens Noel is proof that you can get a shot blocker from anywhere. So
shout out to you and your background. I love your virtual background. That could be a shirt. I like that.
Word, definitely. That's dope.
Shout out to Google.
Shout out to Google. Well, folks, we're glad you tuned in. And YouTube, I am sorry for putting copyrighted material. Thank you for restoring this live stream, because apparently when I put on the Knicks game 5, it was copywritten, so I apologize. I didn't mean to. I mean, I thought could put it up, but whatever. Either way, next time I'll just put it on back of me, and we'll whatever the case may be. So shout out to YouTube for restoring the stream after the copywritten material was over. And
sorry.
Sorry. But definitely shout out to these guys. Ed Dollars, Coach B, Wall Street Head. We appreciate y'all for tuning in, and tune in next time. We definitely got more games to talk about.
Yo, we're gonna work on shirts and hats, guys. STK, man.
Merch.
We're gonna get the merch out there.
Definitely.
Swag. We're gonna get the swag out there.
All right, y'all. Good night. Take care. Be
All right.
safe.
Later.
Oh my God.